Good day, I am Aditi Rose Saxena, and the social issues I want to tackle is illegal wildlife trade, specifically within the marine sector. Illegal wildlife trade, or IWT, is one of the world's most urgent yet under recognized social problems. We hear a lot about plastics and pollution, but the living residents of our oceans are often overlooked. The UN Office on Drug and Crime reports that IWT spans over 162 countries and affect over 4,000 species and generate billions of dollars ranking along drug, arms, and human trafficking. But it is more than just an environmental crime. IWT erodes ecosystems, fuels corruption, threatens food security, and even raises public health risks. The theories that I have used are systems thinking theory, exchange theory, self determination theory, nudge theory, human centric design, fear guilt appeal, information deficient model, and deterrence and rational choice theory. You'll see further how I've applied them. To understand IWT and its prevalence, we need to understand the forces behind it. If we apply the systems thinking theory, there are four major buckets that drive the businesses, leading to a bigger global consequence. On the supply side, the illegal marine wildlife trade is sustained by a wide range of actors. Small scale fishers and local harvesters, often living in poverty, collect species such as turtle eggs, seahorses, and clams for survival. These products are then moved through intermediaries like the community traders and consolidators who buy directly and resell at a higher value. At a larger scale, you have the organized poaching groups that operate with industrial methods. In the Philippines, authorities once seized over 120,000 tons of giant clam shells in a single case. Corrupt officials often enable this system, issuing fraudulent permits and ignoring illegal harvesting, while the indigenous and the local communities under economic pressure may also participate. On the demand side, consumers are equally diverse. You have your wealthy elites that continue to purchase shark fin soup, turtle eggs, and clam carvings as prestigious symbols, with shark fin soup still being served at weddings and banquets in parts of Asia. You have your cultural and traditional medicine practices that sustain demand for dried seahorse, ray tails as amulets, and shark bone as bracelets. Aquarium hobbyists in Europe and North America fuel the global trade in corals, seahorses, and reef fish, many of which are actually under the site's protected list but are listed online. Casual tourists and curious buyers also normalize demand, purchasing turtle shell jewelry and trinkets in markets or through e commerce shops like Shopee and Lazada. Finally, you have your international syndicates that include the Chinese and the Vietnamese nationalists that were arrested in the Sulu celibacy case. That were the links that link the local supply with global markets, driving up prices and expanding networks. Now, that brings us to the trafficking networks that bridge the supply and demand. Products are smuggled across porous maritime borders, concealed within legal seafood shipment, or sold openly online. At the local level, you have your traders that bundle turtle eggs, seahorses, and shark fins for resale. You have your cross border smugglers that move goods through the maritime gray zone, such as eggs being trafficked from Philippines, Turtle Island to Sabah, Malaysia. You have your large syndicates that finance these operations and then they launder profit through the legal businesses. Corrupt officials are again a part of the system. And then you have your transport intermediaries that disguise the wildlife in refrigerated containers or mixed cargoes. Increasingly, we are also seeing online platforms such as Facebook Live and Shopee act as brokers between the suppliers and global buyers. This leads us to the governance and enforcement layer, which is one of the weakest link. National agencies like BFAR in the Philippines, Malaysian Department of Fisheries, and Indonesian Ministry of Marine Affairs patrol and regulate, supported by customs, coast guards, and police. International frameworks like CITES, Interpol, and Asian WEN provide coordination, while NGOs like Traffic and WWF supply intelligence. Yet corruption is weak. Yet there is corruption, we have weak penalties, poor judicial follow throughs, which allow the traffickers to operate with near impunity. This is also evident with the Sulu celibacy case, where even after 452 confiscations, only 24 led to documented convictions. This, sorry, this also has a unfortunate global consequence. Overharvesting of sharks and rays destabilizes food webs, the loss of clams and corals erodes the reefs, undermining fisheries and coastal protection. Marine turtles, which have been now endangered for a few years, are pushed closer to extinction. And beyond all of this, unregulated trade poses food safety and public health risk that cross borders, leading to a higher risk of spreading zoonotic diseases. This brings us to competition to behavior and social change. It is foolish to think that the solution lies in rival products. Instead, the true competition comes from entrenched social, cultural, and economic forces. Exchange theory developed by George C. Humans in 1958 remind us that people adopt behavior when benefit outweighs costs. For coastal communities, poaching offers an immediate income while legal alternatives remain scarce. Self determination theory by Deci and Ryan in 1958 shows that people resist change when it threatens autonomy and cultural identity. This would explain why traditions like eating cultural egg. This would explain why traditions like eating turtle eggs or using seahorses in medicine persists. They are tied to belief and identity, not just profit. For consumers, shark fin soup and turtle shell trinkets continue to carry prestige and symbolic value. Accessibility matters. Nudge theory highlights that small cues in our environment guide choices. Online platforms like Facebook and Shopee nudge consumers towards illegal products by making them visible and easy to buy. Finally, human centric designs stress that solutions must be co designed with communities. Without providing culturally sensitive alternatives, even well intentioned interventions struggle. Together with these theories, we see that competition is deeply social and structural. It's not just about banning products. Naturally, limitations of the past campaigns offer important lessons, many of which rely on weak assumptions. For example, the shame based anti shark fin ads in Hong Kong drew on fear and guilt appeals, an approach grounded in persuasion psychology from 1950s. These obviously backfired. As self determination theory predicted, audiences rejected what felt like Western moralization. Similarly, generic poster campaigns warning tourists against turtle shell jewelry relied on information deficit model that awareness automatically drives behavior. In practice, awareness rose, but jewelry remained openly available, so behavior did not shift. International bans have also struggled. CITES trade restrictions established in the 1975 assumed deterrence theory would apply. If penalties were high, people would rationally avoid crime. Yet, in places like Sulu celibacy, with only 6% conviction rate, the deterrence effect collapsed. By contrast, campaigns with stronger theoretical grounding saw more success. WWF and Wild Aids Say No to Shark Fin, backed by Yao Ming, drew on social norm theory that and helped cut consumption in some urban markets by up to almost 80%, but rural areas lagged. WWF's Too Rare to Wear targeted tourists with nudges at airport and ports, discouraging ivory and turtle shell purchases. But without tackling supply visibility, tourists still bought. Grassroots programs like Philippines Globe Guard applied human centric designs involving communities to protect turtle nests, but they lacked funding. So, how do we do this differently? Future efforts to tackle marine illegal wildlife trade must go beyond enforcement. We've seen that that doesn't work. Instead, campaigns should focus on behavior change, making marine products socially unacceptable rather than simply illegal. Social norm theory explains that reshaping expectations, such as making shark fin soup unfashionable, can cause reduction in demand. But as self determination theory reminds us, people will resist change when it feels imposed. Campaigns must therefore respect tradition while reframing practices like treating turtle eggs as cultural heritage to be protected and work with local leaders as credible messengers. For coastal communities, exchange theory shows that behavior only shifts if the benefit will outweigh the cost. Offering viable alternatives such as sustainable fishing, aquaculture, ecotourism ensures that conservation brings equal or greater rewards than poaching. Nudge theory adds subtle cues to guide consumers from real time airport messaging warning that a bracelet could cost a turtle its life to online interventions that block or flag illegal products. At a systemic level, Systems thinking highlight the need for stronger cooperation across ASEAN, Interpol, and WCO, alongside judicial training and anti-corruption measures. And applying human-centric design ensures that the interventions are co-created with communities, making them practical and culturally sensitive, instead of something that's being enforced on them. Ultimately, IWT must be framed not just as conservation, but as a social justice and public health issue, one that threatens livelihood, exploits culture, and raises zoonotic risks. Past efforts have shown that enforcement alone will not be helpful. So let's apply marketing theories and reshape behavior, respect traditions, and provide real alternatives. Only then we can safeguard the marine biodiversity and ensure our oceans remain living systems and not just a market for extinction. Thank you.